Every morning, billions of people reach for a cup of black, bitter liquid to wake up their souls. We call it coffee. But 500 years ago, this drink was considered a ticket to hell. It was a drink of poets, rebels, and revolutionaries. In the dark corners of the Ottoman Empire and the grand squares of London, coffee didn't just wake people up, it started revolutions. This is the secret history of the drink that the world tried to ban, but couldn't defeat. When coffee first arrived in Europe, priests were terrified. They called it the bitter invention of Satan. They believed that since wine was the holy drink of Christ, this dark, stimulating brew from the East must be the work of the Antichrist. They pleaded with Pope Clement VIII to ban it forever, but the Pope decided to taste it first. He took one sip and smiled. "This devil's drink is so delicious," he said, "that we should cheat the devil by baptizing it." And with those words, the history of the West changed forever. By the late 1600s, London was obsessed. But these weren't your modern quiet cafes. They were known as penny universities. For the price of a penny, you got a cup of coffee and access to the most brilliant minds of the age. Isaac Newton, poets, and merchants sat at long wooden tables, fueled by caffeine instead of alcohol. For the first time in history, people were replaced their midday beer with a drink that made them sharp, alert, and argumentative. The Enlightenment didn't start in a classroom. It started in a cloud of coffee steam. But not everyone was happy. In 1674, the women of London had enough. They published a famous petition claiming that coffee was turning their husbands into unfruitful gossips. They complained that men were spending all their time in coffee houses, talking about politics and news, instead of attending to their domestic duties. It was a domestic war between the silent home and the loud, caffeinated streets. The drink was accused of stealing the very fabric of the family. King Charles II saw a different danger. He didn't care about gossip, he cared about his throne. He realized that people drinking coffee were talking about freedom and questioning the monarchy. In 1675, he tried to ban all coffee houses, calling them places where disaffected persons spread false reports. But the public outcry was so massive, so intense, that he had to withdraw the ban just 11 days later. The people had tasted the energy of the bean, and they wouldn't go back to the darkness of the crown. Before the Pope's baptism, coffee was a fiercely guarded secret of the Ottoman Empire. Its origins trace back to the highlands of Ethiopia, discovered by a goat herder named Kaldi, whose goats became unusually energetic after eating red berries. But it was in Yemen where coffee truly became kawa, the Arabic word for a stimulating drink. From there, it spread to Mecca, Cairo, and Istanbul. The Ottoman sultans knew its power. They tried to control its trade with an iron fist, even executing those caught smuggling the precious beans. But secrets, like coffee beans, always find a way to escape. The first European city to truly embrace coffee was Venice. Its merchants, ever eager for new exotic goods, sent daring spies to the Ottoman lands. These were not just traders, they were botanical secret agents. They risked their lives to smuggle coffee, saplings, and beans, hiding them in their clothes, past vigilant guards. The Ottomans understood that controlling coffee was controlling information and energy. But the Venetians, driven by profit and curiosity, broke the monopoly. It was an industrial espionage operation that would change global diets forever. As coffee spread, so did its value. These weren't just beans, they were black gold. European powers, desperate to break the Ottoman and Venetian monopolies, began establishing massive coffee plantations in their colonies. This demand for the forbidden brew fueled one of the darkest chapters in human history, the transatlantic slave trade. Millions of enslaved people were forced to toil in brutal conditions in the Caribbean and South America, cultivating the very beans that fueled intellectual revolutions in Europe. The pleasure in one cup often came from unimaginable suffering on another continent. The Dutch, masters of global trade, were instrumental in spreading coffee beyond the Arab world. They successfully cultivated coffee outside Yemen, specifically on the island of Java, in what is now Indonesia. They perfected the cultivation methods, creating vast plantations that supplied an insatiable European market. From a single smuggled sapling, the Dutch created a global empire of coffee. This technological leap meant coffee was no longer a rare, expensive luxury. It became accessible, transforming social classes and daily habits across continents. But coffee's true destiny lay across the Atlantic. In 1714, the mayor of Amsterdam gifted a single coffee plant to King Louis XIV of France. This plant, carefully cultivated in the Jardin des Plantes in Paris, became the mother plant for almost all coffee grown in the Americas. A young French naval officer, Gabriel de Clou, famously risked his life, even sharing his own water ration with the delicate plant during a perilous sea voyage, to bring it to Martinique. This single act of devotion sparked the coffee boom in Latin America, forever changing the economic and social landscape of countries like Brazil and Colombia. In Sweden, King Gustav III viewed coffee as a deadly poison that threatened the health of his subjects. He didn't just ban it, he conducted one of the strangest scientific experiments in history. He took two twins who were sentenced to death and commuted their sentence on one condition. One had to drink 3 pots of tea every day, and the other had to drink 3 pots of coffee. The king waited for the coffee drinker to die, proving his point, but the experiment backfired. Both twins outlived the doctors, the king himself, and everyone else involved. Coffee didn't kill, it sustained. Even a king's decree couldn't stop the biological allure of the bean. In Prussia, Frederick the Great was furious. He didn't hate the taste, he hated the economy. He wanted his people to drink beer, which was produced locally, instead of coffee, which drained the national treasury. In 1781, he established a specialized force, known as the Coffee Sniffers or Kaffeeschnüffler. These soldiers wandered the streets, sniffing for the forbidden aroma of roasting beans. If they smelled it, they would break into homes, seize the coffee, and find the owners. It was a war of the senses. People hid their coffee like illegal drugs, roasting it in secret basements, just to get a taste of the prohibited fire. While kings were trying to ban it, coffee was fueling a storm in Paris. At the Café des Copies, the first true literary café, the air was thick with smoke and ideas. It was here that Rousseau, Voltaire, and later the leaders of the French Revolution, Marat Danton and Robespierre, drank cup after cup of black coffee. Caffeine stripped away the fog of alcohol, making them sharp, angry, and visionary. They didn't just talk about the weather. They planned the overthrow of the monarchy. The French Revolution wasn't just born in the streets. It was brewed in a coffee pot. Without caffeine, the modern world might still be bowing to kings. For centuries, the Western world was perpetually drunk. Water was dangerous to drink, so everyone from children to the elderly drank beer and wine throughout the day. Society existed in a hazy, sluggish state of mild intoxication. Then came coffee. For the first time, a popular beverage didn't cloud the mind, it focused it. It was a massive neurological shift for humanity. Coffee replaced the stupor of alcohol with the clarity of caffeine. It made the Industrial Revolution possible because you couldn't operate a high-speed steam engine while drunk, but you could do it perfectly while caffeinated. By the 19th century, coffee needed to match the speed of the machines it fueled. In Italy, the demand for quick caffeine led to the invention of the espresso machine. It was a high-pressure solution for a high-pressure world. Coffee was no longer a long social ritual. It became a shot of pure energy, designed to get the worker back to the factory floor as fast as possible. The drink that once ignited intellectual revolutions was now the lubricant of the global economy. We had moved from the soul-searching coffee houses of London to the fast-paced, high-octane world of the modern era. Coffee had won the war. By the early 20th century, the epicenter of coffee shifted from the exotic East to the vast, red soils of Brazil. Coffee was no longer a rare luxury. It became a global commodity, traded on the floors of Wall Street like gold or oil. Brazil's massive plantations began to dictate the rhythm of the world's morning. But this dominance came at a cost. Vast rainforests were cleared to make room for millions of coffee trees. The black gold that once fueled Enlightenment ideas was now driving a massive industrial and environmental machine, turning South America into the world's steaming coffee pot. As decades passed, our relationship with coffee evolved. We moved from the gritty penny universities to the era of instant coffee in the world wars, and finally, to what we call the third wave. Today, Coffee is treated with the same reverence as fine wine. We talk about notes of blueberry, soil acidity, and microclimates. The barista has replaced the priest, and the pour-over has replaced the baptism. We have returned to a state of ritual, where every cup is a celebration of the bean's origin. We are no longer just drinking caffeine. We are drinking a geography, a culture, and a craft. But there is a shadow looming over your morning cup. The Arabica bean, the source of our finest coffees, is a fragile creature. It requires perfect temperatures and precise altitudes. As our planet warms, the coffee belt is shrinking. Scientists warn that by 2050, half of the land currently used for coffee may become unusable. We are facing a future where coffee might once again become a luxury only the ultra-rich can afford. The drink that survived bans by popes and kings is now facing its greatest enemy, a changing climate. The question is, can we save the bean that saved our minds? Despite the threats, coffee remains the ultimate social glue. From the Swedish fika to the Italian espresso at the bar, it is the catalyst for human connection. It has survived every attempt to suppress it because it fulfills a fundamental human need, the desire to be alert, to be social, and to share a moment. Whether it's a first date or a late-night study session, coffee is there. It is the silent witness to our history, our failures, and our greatest inventions. It is the bitter ink with which the story of modern humanity has been written. So, the next time you lift that cup to your lips, remember, you are not just drinking a beverage. You are tasting a forbidden history. You are drinking the legacy of Ottoman spies, the courage of a French naval officer, and the rebellion of the Enlightenment. The coffee in your hand was once a tool of the devil, and then the fuel of geniuses. It has conquered the world, one cup at a time. Thank you for exploring this untold side of history with me. Don't forget to subscribe and join us for the next hidden story. Until then, keep your mind sharp and your coffee strong. Goodbye.